welcome back. Civil rights activists had raised a stink over the government's move to evict slum dwellers along the city's waterways to make way for an elevated expressway.
They point out that the move was in complete violation of a Supreme Court order upholding the right to shelter and livelihood under Article 21 of the Constitution.
In the past 2 weeks, almost 1,000 slum tenements were razed to the ground in Egmore, Chetpet and Chulaimedu to make way for the 1,400 crore rupees elevated expressway from Chennai port to Madurai. Less than half of those who lost their homes have been given alternative accommodation, that too at far-off places like Thoraipakkam. This has hit their livelihood.
அங்க இருக்கிற நாங்கெல்லாம் வந்து ரொம்ப தலித் மக்கள் தான் இருக்குறாங்க. அங்க பக்கத்துல இருக்கிற பங்களாங்கள்ல தான் வேலை செஞ்சிருக்கோம். அது மட்டும் இல்லாம எங்க பிள்ளைங்க எல்லாம் வந்து இந்த வருஷம் 10th +2 எல்லாமே எதிர்பார்த்து நாங்க வறுமையில இருந்தா கூட எங்க பிள்ளைங்களை நல்லா படிக்க வைக்கணும்ன்ற ஒரு எய்ம்ல தான் இருந்தோம். இதனால வந்து பிள்ளைங்க ரொம்ப அப்செட் ஆயிட்டாங்க. தொரப்பாக்கான் வீடு கொடுத்துட்டு அங்க வந்து நாங்க ஒரு நாளைக்கு பஸ் ஃபேரே எங்களுக்கு வந்து 40 ரூபாய் கொடுத்து எங்க குழந்தைகளை விட்டுட்டு வர முடியாது.
போறோம் எந்த இடம் கொடுக்கறாங்க எதுமே ஒரு தகவலும் சொல்லல. அதனால நாங்க எல்லா மக்கள் எல்லாம் ஒன்று கூட்டி ஒரே பதட்டமா இருந்த மக்களோட மனநிலை ரொம்ப பாதிக்கப்பட்டிருந்தது.
The social impact assessment report of the project says 1,500 tenements will be affected. But the activists say that's less than a third of the actual number. Compensations have not been paid. Documents promising alternative accommodation not signed. And people allege that no public hearings were conducted before the implementation of the project.
எனக்கு மட்டும் தான் பட்டியல் 1ன்னு வந்து ஒரு அலாட்னு ஒரு பேப்பர் கொடுத்தாங்க. அந்த பேப்பர்ல கூட அதிகாரியுடைய கையெழுத்து இல்ல. அதிகாரி எந்த பதவின்னு தெரியல.
For long, container operators have demanded such a highway to facilitate free movement. But technical experts point out that the project is not viable in its present form and will hardly solve traffic issues.
This is extremely a long way, and about 12 turnings are coming in the proposed way. What is my proposal is, why the government cannot take the route on Pundamali highway itself, that is from Madurai till Chindrajipet, as for example they have done at Katibara junction. In this case, the government will be saving more than 900 crores.
The Housing Rights Protection Campaign, a city-based civil rights group, has organized a meeting for people who were forcefully evicted to meet and discuss their woes and possible solutions to their problems.
It's a violation of the right to life, and the government must stop these evictions. And we will, if this doesn't happen, we will be organizing together with the affected people a very mammoth rally.
According to an estimate, 3 lakh people in Chennai will be homeless thanks to development projects like the elevated corridors, the mass rapid transit system and the metro rail. In Chennai, with camera person Srinivas, Nithila for NDTV Hindu.
We are now joined by Vanessa Peter, Citizen Rights Forum. Vanessa, thank you so much for coming. Now, what a terrible time to evict these people. It's raining so heavily. And have you taken a look at the alternative accommodation? Is it habitable at all?
Speaking about the alternative sites, you can see that government has actually already constructed more than 20,000 sites in Okkam, Thoraipakkam, Kannaginagar, and another additional 7,000 in areas like Semanjeri. So if you see, first of all, about the alternative sites, I would like to give you some statistics about what are the things that are available and what is not available. If you see, in the place of 77 ICDS in Kannaginagar, there are just 7. There is no primary health centers. Women are delivering babies in the roadside. Because, by the time you reach to a hospital, it takes about 20 or even more than that, 20 to 30 minutes, and women are delivering babies in the road. And the nearest government hospital is Gosha Hospital in Triplicane. So, which means we need to travel from Old Mahabalipuram Road all the way to Triplicane. And if you see the basic amenities, when I'm talking about basic amenities, citing an example of Kannaginagar, you can see 50% of the people still live in darkness because there's no electricity connection. And if you talk about drinking water, people get 4 pots of drinking water once in 4 days. So these are the things, and it is completely inhabitable because, people are uprooted from the cities and they are moved to such alternative sites. And there they already have problems of food security, especially the women and the children. So such schemes like ICDS and PDS, that is the public distribution services, which are universal schemes, are not made available to the people here. And which means, they completely lack food security. That's one of the issues.
So, but your main focus over here, are you saying that the alternative accommodation is not viable and hence take it off and don't evict us? Or are you saying that make the alternative accommodation or whatever the sites are more habitable and then let us be taken there?
Okay, I would like to quote the government here. In one of the government's pre-feasibility report on the alternative sites, it's clearly mentioned that constructing alternative sites is 10 times more costlier than upgrading the slums at the same location. So we would certainly go for upgrading the slums at the same location. When I say same location, it doesn't mean, you know, in the riverbeds, near that, in those unhygienic situations. We are saying that identify areas within 3 kilometers of the existing slum, and then you house them there, because there are government lands available in these areas. Why don't we try for in-situ houses? As you know, for any urban poor, the livelihood is location-centric. So I think government should consider constructing in-situ houses as once they have been prior to receiving World Bank money.
So what's your next course of action? Because there was a protest last year, nearly 50,000 people were involved, and that was completely in vain. So what do you propose to do?
See, I would like to comment on this. See, last year, there is a community-based group called Kannaginagar Podunalla Sangam in the relocation site of Okkimdurepakam, Kannaginagar. They have posted 50,000 postcards to the housing minister, citing all these. They were just asking for better housing, better water facilities, better sanitation facilities, better hospital facilities. And they had a grievance redressal meet where the departments like the Slum Clearance Board had promised to give them a hospital facilities, had promised to establish Anganwadi centers in these areas. But, you know, after the grievance redressal meet, everything is forgotten. So our point is, every time, you know, these are all basic rights which should be made available to all. And people need not come in the streets all the time to, you know, demand for something which is basic. Drinking water is something which is basic that everybody should be entitled to. So, you know, it's a very gross state of affair, you know, what is happening here. People have to come all the way in the streets demanding. And I'm not saying that only the 50,000 postcard that was sent to the housing minister is the issue. Every time when there is no water or for accessing even a flood relief, the people are coming to the streets. Either, you know, through a protest, organized protest, or by blocking the road, they are pushed to such extent, you know. Getting the basic needs is like now a dream come true for
right.
people.
In fact, we understand that more than 300,000, 3 lakh people would be affected by this current eviction drive, which is not only for the elevated expressway which the government is planning, but also several other projects. Exactly. Now help us understand, like, what has been the plan? What is the plan of the government? Did the government communicate to these people as to what their plan is? Was there a kind of a public consultation?
Okay. See, if you talk about the projects, there are plenty of projects. One is the port connectivity road, starting from Ennore Port towards Chennai Port. And then you have the Chennai Port to the Mother of Oil. And then you also have one more highway project that is from the Kamaraj Saleh towards Kottivakam. See, if you look at all these roads, okay, these highway projects, it's not going to benefit the poorest of the poor in the city. And all that, I would like to quote the World Bank, you know, when the World Bank has started pumping in money for the state of Tamil Nadu to implement this affordable housing schemes, the one clause which they openly declared, what World Bank has declared is that we would like to promote the interest of the real estate market. See, the problem is not about establishing some highways or anything. The problem is that the World Bank, you know, the government is listening to the World Bank who wants to promote the real estate market. It's as simple as that. So, in terms of consultation, see, all these project proposals are well drafted. You have lots of assessments done. But unfortunately, there is no organized efforts on the part of these implementing agencies, especially the slum board, to come and have a proper consultation with the people. These are all forced eviction because if you see the resettlement policy talks about issuance of a notice, a legal notice. Then people should be discussed about who are the eligible beneficiaries of the houses. Then people should be, if you talk about the UN guidelines on adequate housing, it talks about people should be consulted not just on what kind of houses, right, but on the size, on the location. So none of these things have been done.
And we also understand that this is not a housing issue alone. This is a livelihood issue, right? So.
And none of this is actually going to help ease the traffic, that's what experts say. So it seems quite a futile exercise, if you ask me, in the long run.
No, tell us, which are the areas where the slum board is targeting, or rather the eviction drive that has been going on? Which are the areas and who all would be affected?
See, I would again say it by the project wise, because in this Chennai Port to Madurai Road, you have areas from Chindadiripet to Ritchie Street and down via towards Chetpet, Egmore and Aminjikarai areas, and also Ananagar areas. All these people will be affected. When you talk about the Ennore Express Highway, you have almost 21 fishing hamlets being completely wiped off, and they are again moved to a site called All India Radio. And when you're talking about the the road from Kamaraj Salai to the Kottivakam, you can see that again, more than 8 fishing hamlets are being moved, like Nochikuppam towards Thiruvanmiyur Kuppam.
All right, so very quickly, we have completely run out of time. Next course of action, what are you planning to do? Out on the streets?
Certainly mobilize the people. Also, see, we are planning on a 3-pronged approach. One, getting the people aware that housing is their basic right, and people should be having the right to city. That's how I would put it. Secondly is not just people going to the roads, but also in the right way. We're also planning to move the court.
All right.
But certainly a mass action is the thing that we are planning for.
All right, so double-pronged really. Mass action as well as move the court for the legal reprieve. Thank you very much, Vanessa Pita, for joining us here and giving us all those details. Well, it's time for us to slip into another short break. We'll be back with more news and updates on the other side.
Do stay tuned.